Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. Welcome back to the Near Memo with David, Mike, and Greg, where we talk about all things local and beyond. And today we've got a kind of more diverse lineup than simply Google. We're talking about Internet Advertising Revenue Report. We're going to be talking about, we actually are talking quite a bit about Google. I take it back. The Internet Revenue Report, a recent FTC kind of fine for a plastic surgeon who had been forcing NDAs on his customers to prevent them from writing negative reviews. And we're also going to be talking about Will Reynolds' excellent piece, among other things, on the sea of sameness and content creation, sort of in this era of AI. So my item is the leadoff item here, the most mundane of the three of us today. And this was the IAB's kind of annual Internet Advertising Revenue Report, which used to be something that got enormous amount of attention sort of in the earlier days, and now is kind of more of a sort of a ho-hum thing, but still interesting. And basically what they said, this is for 2023 as a whole. So basically what they said is that Internet advertising revenue grew, accelerated in the second half across all different formats. It also shows that traditional media grew, but that's a kind of an afterthought in the report. But I want to call attention to two pieces, which is search revenue, which was almost 90 billion for the year. Let me just verify that so I don't misstate it. Yes, 88.8 billion for 2023, which is up basically 5% from last year. It's a smaller piece of the overall pie, but it's the largest single chunk of revenue by about 20 billion. Display is next after that, and then you get video and other formats. And they're no longer breaking out mobile, I don't think. They used to break out mobile and desktop, and I don't think that's happening in this report. So, Google is the main beneficiary of this 90 billion in search ad revenue, obviously. They're almost the only game in town, and it's the biggest chunk of internet ad revenue overall. And search has kind of consistently been the biggest piece, although its share has declined. The real dollars keep going up. The overall market share, or the share of total revenue, has gone down a bit. But it doesn't seem like there's anything in the foreseeable future that is going to change that. With the disappearance of cookies, which is not about search, but about sort of display and other formats, the sort of big internet players, the walled gardens, are going to sort of reinforce their position. So about 80% of total internet revenue is concentrated, I think, in about 10 companies, Google, Meta, et cetera, et cetera. And there's nothing on the horizon that's going to change that. That's been true for a long time. I think the concentration is increasing. And then, as I said, as cookies kind of are deprecated on Chrome, we're going to see people sort of relying on these walled gardens, these big players, because they'll have data, they'll have, kind of the access to audiences that used to sort of be more widely available. And this is one of the concerns, I think, that the UK competition regulator has about cookie deprecation, is the sort of unintended consequence of reinforcing the dominance of certain companies. And I don't see how that changes. I mean, it really seems like the internet has taken money from traditional media over time, and it's created this enormous concentration of wealth in a very small oligopoly of companies. And there's nothing sort of on the horizon that would seem to be disruptive of that. I don't, nothing. AI doesn't sort of factor into that. So that's kind of the state of the internet. And then I wanted to also throw in this new ad format that Google has introduced called Ad Intense. There's two pieces to it. There's links in your content, and then there's a button or an anchor at the bottom of the page. The two are separate. You can do one or both. And it's an opt-in format. Basically, it's AdSense scanning your page and inserting links on keywords that are then going to, when clicked, generate a kind of a pop-up, which is a sort of a search results page with sponsored links and organic results. And it's a pretty interesting format. It's a pretty interesting way to do contextual advertising. So it's clever, but I think there's also the risk that people going to your page see, click on a link thinking it's going to be more information, get this search results pop up, and then they're gone. They go off to some other result, a competitor or another publisher. So it's an interesting result, but I don't know if it's the best thing for publishers. It's kind of a quasi affiliate links kind of approach. So that was just a sort of an interesting addendum to the larger internet advertising story.
How does this? I'm confused about who pays who what. So the advertiser, Google generates a page, or Google adds links to an advertiser's page, and then the advertiser gets payment when
no. Well, so
the
the publisher. So Near Media is the publisher. Okay. We opt into this program.
We are not opting into this, by the way.
No, I know.
Veto that decision.
And hypothetically. And so then Google would scan the page, right? So this, whereas AdSense traditionally placed ads kind of adjacent to the page or at different places on the page that were separate from the text, this is embedded in the text like an affiliate link. And then the user clicks on it, right? You want to learn more about solar panels or the Pixel whatever number they're at now. You click that link and there's a kind of a pop-up that looks like a SERP that has, I believe, both sponsored links and organic links. So it's like Google running a search result. I don't know if these are specially kind of constructed for this, or if this is just some variation on what you would get if that was your keyword. But you get this pop-up and then you see this other information, and then you can click anywhere on that, and then presumably, I don't know if it opens a new window or takes over the existing window, but it takes you away from the publisher's content.
So if we did it on our site, what would
we would get presumably some share, some revenue, whatever.
Like, let's say we mentioned Bright Local or something in an ad, right? In an editorial post, and somebody's like, "Oh, who's Bright Local?" And then there's an ad with a Bright Local click at the top or whatever, and we would get a cut of Google's take on that ad from Bright Local.
Or if we mentioned Allure Aesthetic, which is our next conversation, it might link on him if he was doing a brand advertising. I get it.
That's right.
Okay.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.